If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Speaking of buy our merch, don't buy our merch. If you saw the little baby at the during the commercial, that belongs to a friend of ours. You guys know how we
Friend
are
of the
with
village, in fact.
You know how we are with life and babies and things of that nature, but we also believe in putting your money where your mouth is. So, please consider going to that baby registry, which Soraya, do you have that in the description now?
I can add it in.
Which is in the description, and that Soraya will post periodically. Consider giving to that baby registry. We have already given Shorty, we've already taken off 7 items on that registry. So congratulations and thank you to our community. We're almost 1/5 of the way there. She didn't ask for our help, by the way, but I know her and she's not the type of person to ask for help. But
and we know how it can be expensive having babies.
They do need the help.
Yeah, everybody can.
If you make purchases totaling up to $75 or above, send us a screenshot of that and we will do a free song for you. Maybe we'll do a baby shower thing, do them all. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
No, a lot of the people want them to go into their own streams.
On top of their own DJ streams. Okay, we'll do that too. So there you go. Lots of ways to give, lots of ways to do that. And, you know, our community's always been that. But the time has arrived.
Link is on its way. Let's start this song.
1, shout out to Vlad for showing up. That's my buddy. 2, song number 1 from the big homie, DJ Mike Franco.
Mike.
It's a band by the name of Sylosis, and the name of the song is After Lifeless. No, that's not right. What's the first song again?
I'm trying to get that link up in there, babe.
After Lifeless Years, I believe, is the name of the song. So here we go, guys. After
correct.
Lifeless Years, Yahweh rules. I agree. Let's do it. Yes, Pinky. Strong start.
Wow.
I'm a big believer in a strong start.
This one was a strong start.
Strong start for your first record. Strong start for the set when you're playing live. Strong start for the DJ stream. Take notes, dear
Bang, bang, bang.
I'm looking at
What?
Amy. Daniel's like, I'm so excited for this stream. Amy's like, I'm so happy for you, Daniel. Angry face. It's your miserable self.
Yeah, but this one had like the darkness to it, but then it also had those nice clean vocals in there. And musically it kind of kept soaring with it. I thought it was very well done. I really enjoyed it. Now,
it has
that's
some
typically
kill
how
switch.
Sylosis does stuff.
I don't know. We haven't listened to a lot of Sylosis. Have you? I don't recall us listening to a bunch of Kill Switch Engage.
Kill Switch Engage. Where'd that come from?
Sylosis. Well, there was some Kill Switch Engage energy here with the strong, like, classical Iron Maiden type lead in the chorus, and then you do the clean vocals over that. That seems to be like a signature Kill Switch Engage. But they did a really, really good job at it because they also had traditional thrash metal riffage. So, yeah, I really, really, really good formula. Okay, Michelle, I'm sure Soraya will look at that for sure. And thank you guys for sharing information, by the way. That's pretty that's pretty deep that you guys would do that. And then here's Amy. 2 seconds of clean vocals. Like having bad sex for an hour for a lousy 2 seconds of happiness. Oh, gosh.
That's so bad.
People's train only goes to one station. Gotham is yours.
Yeah, but shut that shit down if it's not working. That's so funny. I just can't imagine an hour of... Okay, anyway, let's move it right along.
Moving right along, dear listener.
Let's bring this train to another station.
This is, of
Let's
course...
go to the lyrics.
This is, of course, a Christian broadcast. So there's also that. Holy shit. We're going to hell.
The truth became so clear to you, and so your faith has died.
Uh-oh.
Now see what waits for you on the other side.
Ruh-roh.
A morbid sea of deepest black, a distant, ever-burning flame. With nowhere else to turn, you wander alone, forever alone. Forsaken by the God you loved, and now your love has died. No miracle will shine its lights on you. So easily directed, your thoughts remain your only guide. Hey boy. Now you will see no truth beneath this cloak of lies. A distant, ever-piercing cry so far away, blinded by aspirations of a higher state, wasting your life just searching for a periphery?
Periphery.
What is that? The only thing I know is like that side vision.
Yeah, I think it's talking about something outside of yourself to give yourself meaning, I think is what he's going with there.
Hold on to the thought that it was just, and pray for life to continue. We'll fall beyond safety's grasp to reemerge lifeless, trying to break from the clutches of our death. A morbid sea of deepest black. A distant, ever-burning flame. A distant, ever-piercing cry, so far away cry. Oh my God, that is not a happy place to be in.
Well, we were just talking.
That's so interesting.
It looks like this is a process of somebody losing their faith, as it were.
Yeah.
Which I was listening to this, commenting on this a couple days ago, where in the last, it's funny because I actually read his article and he's like, in the last 5 years, there's been a lot of Christians coming out and deconstructing, meaning publicly saying they're losing the foundations of their faith. And it was so fascinating to me because I hadn't read the full article, but one of the points I made in the video, which I don't really think the video fits any of either Middle America or this format, so I probably won't post it on this format, but
we could put it up on Patreon, though.
I doubt it. But one of the things that's really fascinating to me about what I said was they're not taking accountability for the fact that the way that evangelicals handled themselves during the Trump administration was completely destructive to a lot of millennials, Gen Xers, and even Gen Zers. Because they made the people who are deconstructing and leaving the faith, in my opinion, are making the same mistake as the people who are bastardizing our faith, namely that their version of American evangelicalism and Trumpism, as Apostle Joshua calls it, is Christianity. And so they just slowly began to say, I can't be a part of this. I can't kicking over water bottles over at the border.
No.
Putting kids in cages.
Yeah.
Mocking everybody who's not exactly, that doesn't look exactly like me. Like, they just slowly began to say, I can't be a part of this, and this doesn't mean anything. And then it opened them up to, well, maybe Richard Dawkins is right. Maybe, and those, that brand of evangelicalism is not very strong on science either.
No.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I don't remember. Keep going.
So it was fascinating because, so I made that statement, and then I read the article after I made the statement, which usually when you do that, you're like, but it was like, holy shit, because he said in the last 5 years, and it's like, that's exactly the Trump timeline, right? From when he went down the escalator to now. And, from the first moment when he went down the escalator till his very last moment, it was just faith destroying for people who had not bought into the... And again, anybody who's seen me in Middle America, everybody's been angry at me when I talk about Trump, because I say that Biden is much worse for black people than Trump. I've said a million times, I don't care what he does on his Twitter.
Yep.
I don't care personally. But when you have a bunch of women and the president is calling another woman horseface and calling her a whore and all this, it's like, oh, so when you wanted to procure her services, she was worth X amount of money, but now that you're being held accountable, now of course the typical she's a whore, okay, and then your parents and your older brother and sister, all the people you're looking up to, are supporting this guy and even celebrating it.
And it's not like that's the thing. If they were saying, hey, I like Trump for this or that thing, but this is wrong, you know what I mean? Like, being clear about what you do not agree with, because, I mean, people are human beings. You're going to have stuff that's like, that's a problem. Just be honest about it. But they were, just like you had, the Trump derangement syndrome, where people were just like, about anything that you said, anything about Trump. Like, people thought that you were like a massive Trump supporter. Not true. While on the other side, it was like these people were worshiping him. It was very weird. And like, we watched that. Remember that documentary thing where it was like people were prophesying about Trump coming in?
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty weird.
I forgot about that. Was the other thing, which he didn't touch on either, was that you had
whole
Christian evangelicals
prayer chains, all
prophesying about Trump, saying that Trump, playing on the word Trump, that Trump was going to be God's trumpet and all this and that. And there was this weird, and I've said it where if you want to talk about whoredom, real whoredom, when you get to the end of Revelation, is not a woman, enjoying sex. Real whoredom is when the religious institution joins with the state in an exchange for power. Where you compromise your integrity for power. That's the whore. That's the last mention of whore that we see in the Bible. Is that not your sexual prowess? It's that, and the abominations and the whoredoms and all that, which tells me that physical whoredom in a biblical sense is actually just metaphorical of the real whoredom that God is worried about, which is spiritual whoredom, which is very dangerous to say in Christianity, but I don't care. Because I can make lots of cases where God seems to be partial. To the women that evangelicals condemn, but he's absolutely ruthless when it comes to idolatry, which is ultimate whoredom. So, the physical aspect is a metaphor for the spiritual aspect, which is what God is really upset about. But of course, we flipped it around. But all of these things that happen leave people open to saying, I need an alternate worldview, man. Because the irony, I was interfacing with with our community while Trump was going on. You know, I kind of had a dispassionate view of Trump as far as like, oh God, you know, because the church has always elected people that have been against my interests, and they've always not cared about, so I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But I think this was the first time, I remember the first time somebody was saying like, yeah, fuck those kids in those cages. And you see it on Facebook and you're like, holy shit. The guy that wrote the article never addressed that.
Awful.
He never addressed that. And I'm like, of course, if you look at this, like it's gonna bring people to say, wait a second, maybe there's something really wrong with this Christianity stuff, because this can't work. It doesn't look like Jesus, and it doesn't look and look, you know, what's his name? Vlad talked about this, where there was a lot of question marks and things of that nature. I also think there's a lot of question marks to disbelief as well, which we've talked about. There's a hard problem of consciousness, a hard problem of life. There's a lot of things that are, in my mind, completely inexplicable without a divine being. You've got cells that have microscopic, literal assembly lines and systems that work appositionally. All the rest, like,
It doesn't matter how deep you go. There's more design and more design and more design.
right? You know, I was just listening to Lex Friedman, and he was talking about skepticism. I was actually talking to my atheist buddies too about skepticism. He was talking about how he said at some level you have to assume something. I said, oh, you're starting to sound like a presuppositionalist. Like, for example, if somebody says I'm a rationalist, right? You're assuming that your mind works. You're assuming that your mind can apprehend reality. You're assuming that your mind can connect syllogisms to come to a rational conclusion. You have to assume that first in order to even do logic in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to assume that the laws of logic exist, which cannot be tasted, smelt, or measured in a laboratory. So, like, here's my point. My conclusion, as I've really started to listen to scientists, because as I've been saying, I've been listening to pretty much nothing but science, although the recent conflict in the Catholic Church about Mr. Bergoglio is going to be my next thing. But I've just come to the conclusion that our belief or non-belief is more volitional than cognition. More volition than cognition, which I've said it before, but I truly, truly believe that the more and more I look into it. If you look at this whole COVID situation, that's another situation where people... I mean, obviously the song's about losing faith in God, but people are losing faith in the institutions as well, governmental institutions, that you should just be able to mail it in mentally and say, oh, that's what they say. Okay.
Yep.
Like, everything is getting questioned now. And a lot of people love, like, the question everything. And now they're realizing that if you truly have to question everything, it's a very destabilizing world to live in.
Exactly.
A really destabilizing world to live in. What were you going to say?
I mean, I wasn't sure if I was going to say what I was going to say. I mean, it started with, you know, for me, I don't know, probably everybody else, I'm always late to the party because of how we were raised. But when I started realizing that the institutions, be it religious or academic or whatever, that there was like a lot of sexual assault that was happening to the people, the kids in there.
That's another one.
That started it for me. And then when it moved on to, then it was like, then you're hearing all this political stuff. And then there's like the higher ups. Was it Fox? That guy, you know what I mean? Like all these different people that are supposed to be like leadership, and you start realizing that, like, wait a minute, people aren't really safe. And then people are lying, and people will justify, and then they'll demonize you after they've been the one to do something to you. It's just craziness. And then you've got, you know, then with all the information that just kind of came out today about the CDC not giving out the correct information to us, like holding back whole bunches of information, it starts making you question literally every friggin' thing. But then, you know, that, I guess that's like Jesus talked about building a foundation that's firm, and that foundation is him. And so I guess, you know, I was reading some Sailhammer today. Really, really great book. What's his first name?
John
say what?
What a complex name.
I don't even literally know what the name of the book is because we've always called it Sailhammer.
The meaning of the Pentateuch.
That's what it is, yeah. But I was just like a chunk of the way into the introduction, and it was really cool just because he's basing it in something, and he's saying, like, stop looking at it like, because we were always taught to look at it like, okay, that was information for them back there, and it'll give us some here. But he's saying, look at it for what it was in the intended purpose, and you're trying to get as much fact in there as you can, not just from scripture alone, but anything else that would also speak into it that would give you like a really solid picture. And I really like that, because I'm like, that's what we want. We need something solid. We need something that's true, and something that can be backed up, and something that can be verified. And there's a lot that goes into that. I'm not, trying to preach at everybody. I'm just saying it is destabilizing to realize that everywhere you're getting all this misinformation and false information, you're being lied to and stuff. But this person in the song was saying the truth became so clear to you, and so your faith died. And then it goes on to say, forsaken by the God that you loved. I don't know, like, sometimes I think that people go through a time where they feel forsaken by the God that they love, but it's actually because he's trying to kind of reset them to, like, sometimes we can imagine God is a certain way, or we can assume or think that he is, or we can come to some conclusion based off things that people said to us, or that we've kind of gotten in. And sometimes when God stops letting us live in that delusion, so to speak, and we have to face other things, like, it can feel like, well, where the heck is he? So I don't know what exactly was going on with this person, but it definitely sounds like he was in a pretty difficult place, and it wasn't figured out by the end of the song either. A distant, ever-piercing cry, so far away, cry.
That's one of the things that bugged me also about what this guy was saying. It's the dude from Skillet. He's like, if you're so happy with your deconversion, I'm like, man, I'm neck deep in atheists. Most of them are ex-Christians or whatever. I've never seen one of these guys go, yeah, the moment I lost my faith, it was a hard, difficult. I don't know why we have to stereotype people and not actually listen to what the hell they're saying. Mm-hmm. They're all saying it was difficult, it was painful, and I found a way to navigate around it or whatever. None of them are like spiking the football and saying, obviously we've been informed with very ignorant, internet atheists who don't know the first thing about anything. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, those people are putting on a show. But the real, like, thoughtful ones that know what the hell they're talking about, that can actually interact with you, and you go, okay, this guy actually took they had a really hard time.
Yeah.
A really hard time.
Yeah.
So, like... And
they have to know that not only are they making, like, when you make a step to actually, okay, so probably they were thinking about this for a very long time, and then they finally got to a point where they're like, okay, I can't keep faking this. Like it feels fake to me to keep walking this direction when I don't feel I'm this direction. And so then they come out, from my point of view, it's showing that they're not a coward. They're coming out to say how they actually feel. And they know damn well there's going to be a fallout. There is going to be a fight. There is going to be, 100%. They're going to get crucified by the people, it's just, but that's how it goes. But that journey, and it changes you, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't know if he had to come out and talk about people who left the faith that way so that he could, because I think a lot of times when people start doubting their faith, it makes people who are already insecure themselves overreact. You see that a lot in parents when their kid starts deconstructing or losing their faith. They start overreacting because they themselves aren't confident. When our kids were doing it, I was like, yeah, okay, well, okay. I mean, if you ever want to talk to me, and I was completely, I was completely confident that God was going to bring, because I actually believe this shit. Mm-hmm. But I also know there are a lot of extenuating factors that would make anybody say, man, forget this God stuff.
Yeah. In
their life. And so, but I had no insecurity whatsoever. It was no comment on my faith that they were quote leaving the faith. And I believe there's a groundswell, and I know there's a groundswell because I get the emails from you. There's a groundswell of people that are like, well, I'm rethinking my deconstruction, right? But like,
exactly.
But we're only taking a snapshot in a person's life.
I'll be honest with you. I'm actually always glad. I was glad when the kids kind of went through that. Well, mainly because you kind of changed my mind on that. But once I came into the idea, I was glad that they did, because I thought, eventually at some point people hit that in their life where they kind of question it. And then, like you said, they usually circle back around. But I thought it was good for the kids to be able to have that experience while they don't have the stressors of adulthood. Like, they don't have to worry about their kids and the well-being of their kids. They're not working a job. They're not, they have their own stressors. I mean, they have plenty of them. But they still have less now than they will when they're adults. And so I thought it was better that they kind of have that, now where they can question it and be like, I don't know if I believe it, and do all of that now.
Well, also in a safe
right
environment
here.
where they're not going to
Exactly.
get a 16-hour lecture on
Yep.
why they shouldn't say
Yep.
things like that, and why they're going to burn in hell forever, and all the other stuff that happens. And again, I'm not judging parents who do that in the sense of those are bad people. It just seems to me that that reaction is a stoking of their own insecurity about their own faith.
It might be that they don't know how to answer those
when
questions.
When people leave the faith, it makes them question themselves. But yeah, I mean, it's a metal wise, it was a good song.
Oh yeah, I very much enjoyed it.
It was a good song, deep lyrics, and at the end of the day, ultimately people want to be happy, and you want that motion and you want that stillness simultaneously.
Yep.
So we want to be happy because something is happening, and we want peace, that stillness. And that simultaneous motion and stillness is what happiness is. And I find that in Christ, because the scripture says he's the fountainhead of all of our joy. So I would commend that to you. But the journey there is extremely rocky and difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's one hell of a ride, though, I'll tell you what. Or one heaven of a ride. Ha! Cordy!
Very.
Cordy question humor!
Oh boy.
All right, what do you get a song?
8.9.
It was a strong opening. I'm going to give this a 9.148. 9.148, dear listener.
I'm going to move mine to a 9.
Having said that, dear listener, we're coming right back with another jam for you beautiful people. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone. Keep giving us the feedback, dear listener, about
our sound quality.
Sound quality. Any Christian that I've told, have always given me the condescending, you've come back to Christ in time. I've never had that conversation with you. I've never told you you'll come back to Christ in time.
We thought it.
I think it depends on how you say it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the question, Daniel, would be, why would that upset you? What upsets you about that kind of statement? Because there's a couple ways to look at that statement, right? One is a theological reason, which is in some Christian traditions, you have this doctrine called the perseverance of the saints, right? So in 1 John, it says, they went out from us because they did not belong to us, for if they had belonged to us, they would have remained with us, but their leaving displayed that they were never truly of us. And so the conclusion that gets come to theologically is anyone who is truly saved, even if they have a moment of straying, will return back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So if they're saying that because theologically that's what they believe, I'm not certain you could penalize them for that, but I suppose that could still be frustrating. But sometimes you just have to understand why people are saying what they're saying. Now, if they're saying that just so that they can make themselves feel better, because once again, your unbelief
is making them uncomfortable.
So they're projecting onto you what they want to tell themselves. That's a different thing. When I was going through it with our kids, I didn't tell them that. I just said, well, okay, if you want to.
I thought it though.
Oh, I believed it fully, and I was right. But I believed it completely. But I didn't need to say that to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I told one of my atheist friends that about 1.5 years ago. He said, am I going to hell then? Because he said he was a Christian. I said, I don't know if you're going to hell. He's like, well, I was a Christian, then I left. And I was like, well, theologically speaking, I believe if you're truly a Christian, you're going to come back. And he goes, oh, okay, so that's why you're saying you don't know if I'm going to hell. I said, correct. And now he's a Christian, and he's a hardcore Christian. He's got like a internet ministry, and he's actually we did a show with him.
Oh,
like 2 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying?
I gotta go.
So I had another discussion. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because they're in the room. But yeah, it just depends on the reasoning for why they say that. Hey, Matthew Hoyle, that would be like if I collected Beanie Babies as a kid and stopped, then it would mean that I never liked Beanie Babies. Or you could ask some questions, Daniel, because that analogy.
Rachel's not going to bed. What should?
No, I think we're okay. We're okay.
Put him
No, leave him. Is he in the crib right now?
No, he's downstairs.
I'll just leave him then.
Okay.
Let's go to work.
Yeah, he can just go to bed. Leave him alone in there.
Yeah, Daniel,
Orion.
the analogy about the Beanie Babies is missing the element of God operating in the heart of a person. So that's kind of a naturalistic understanding of how a person becomes a Christian. If you think a person only becomes a Christian because they made a decision, then of course, correct, it would be nonsense. But if you believe that a person became a Christian because God worked supernaturally on their heart, well, then God has something to say about it. And in that case, just again, from a theological perspective, God would have to be stronger than you, right? So, as soon as I said God would have to be stronger than you, Orion goes, no! Proof of original sin, dear listener. Okay, commercial break. We'll be right back. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.